Hi guys, we are here today to talk about creating a weekly plan for your service dog. This is something that has actually been one of our most requested videos to date. So a couple of weeks ago, we were live talking about something else and I asked if you guys wanted to see how I do weekly training plans, and I got lots and lots of people requesting this video. So we're going to walk through the step-by-step process that I use when I create my weekly training plans. Now, you should know going into this video that planning is not something that comes naturally to me. Planning is not something I'm good at. It is not something I like to do. I really do prefer to just kind of like jump into a training session and just do whatever I want and see how it goes. And I prefer to do that throughout my entire week. The problem is when we are trying to reach a long-term goal like training a service dog, which is 2 years and lots of different behaviors and lots of different skills, that just doesn't work as well as I would like for it to work. And so when we look at the trainers who have really good success, especially long-term success, one of the things they all have in common is that they have training plans, both for each individual behavior, for most of their individual sessions, as well as for their week or their month, or however they do a little bit bigger plans. So, you know, like I said, you should know that if you're somebody who doesn't like to plan, I'm right there with you. I would prefer not to do these written plans as well. They really are worth it, because along with your physical mechanics, your actual physical skills when it comes to training your dog, which we've talked about lately, how important those are, and we talked about that in our free workshop, which you can find all the replays in the link at the link in the description of this video. Along with your physical mechanics, writing a plan, these really are two of the top things that really good, really successful trainers have in common. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about our weekly plans, because as much as we should have plans going into each individual training session, I can be honest in that I do not always have those. So instead, if I have a weekly plan, I can look at that and then I can still get training done throughout the week. So I do have training plans for each individual behavior so that I know going into starting the behavior the steps that we should be working through. And that doesn't mean that those steps might not change, or we might not have to reevaluate that plan. I do have plans for each of my individual behaviors that we train. However, a weekly training plan from there tends to work a lot better for me. So we're going to go through that process right now. So the first thing that I do is I review. So I'm going to look at notes or videos. So this review process is really important, that you take some time to look at and review any notes or training videos that you have from the prior week. So like if today's Saturday, then maybe I'm planning for next week, right? And which means I'm reviewing the week before. So I'm going to go through videos and I'm going to go through any training notes that I have, and I'm really going to review those. What went well? What didn't go well? How did our training look? Stuff like that. I primarily do videos. I like to video myself training, partly because there are things you're never going to notice unless you video yourself and look back on it. So I think that videoing yourself training is a really valuable tool. I also video all of my training for our Academy members as well. So we're going to, review everything, notes or videos, however you do that. This includes daily life and training. So when you're doing this review process, I think that it's really important for you to not just think about how did your dog do in training sessions this week, how did sit or stay or whatever you were working on, how did that go? But also, how did life with your dog go this week? Was he chasing the cat or chewing on shoes or dashing out the door or whatever? Was there something going on in your home this week that made your dog difficult to live with? Because you've heard me say it before, but you do have to live with your dog, right? Like that has to be your priority, is those house manners. So when I do this review process, I also really like to look back and say, okay, what didn't go so well at home this week? And as our dogs go through puppyhood and adolescence, this can change. So like this past week, for example, Leo is really like busting out of his crate and coming like running through the house. And so we're trying to go back to, hey, like wait until you're released to come out of the crate and then like walk politely down the hallway. So that for Leo and I is a huge priority, because he has to live in my home. And so I need that stuff to go well, right? So we're going to look at both training like formal training in quotes, as well as how things went just around in your dog's daily manners. The other thing you need to review is the handler skills. So how did you do this week with your physical mechanics, with your reinforcement procedures, with the timing of your marker? How clean were your physical mechanics? This is really important. Now, the two things about this are that in order to catch these, you're going to either need somebody to watch you train, or you are going to need to video so that you can then look back on your training and see these things yourself. So of course, our academy is open for enrollment right now until November 12th. So that link is in the description of this video as well. And like, for example, our academy members, a lot of them video themselves training, and then they also post to our Facebook group, which means not only do they see things, so a lot of times somebody will post a video and they'll say, you know, I need some help with this. I already noticed XYZ. And there are things that they wouldn't have noticed if they hadn't videoed themselves, because you're never going to notice that your timing is late, that you're moving your treat hand before you should be, or something like that, unless somebody's watching you train or you're videoing yourself. But you really do need to evaluate your skills every week so those can continue to improve. And then you also want to fill out any sort of progress trackers that you're using, any sort of weekly logs that you're using. I always like weekly type of planning logs. So, of course, you know, when you join the academy, if you choose to join the academy, which is open for enrollment now until the 12th, right? We include a variety of different types of planning tools in the academy. So when you, for example, this is in level 7. In every level, you get a physical workbook that includes, you know, exercise summaries that you can print and keep. These are what we call our progress trackers. We also have a weekly planner, which I'll show you here in a moment. During the review process is when I fill these out. So you might fill something like this out as you go throughout your week. I do these all at the end of the week as I'm planning my next week. So what these are for is, I'll see if I can zoom in, is we're really looking at, you know, where did we train these behaviors? What types of distractions were around? Were they controllable distractions, real world distractions at a distance, real world distractions that were nearby? We really want to evaluate and review not only which behaviors did you do, how did the dog do, but also what types of distractions did you train around? Because a huge, huge chunk of training a service dog is making sure that we've proofed it around distractions, right? So that's kind of the review process in a nutshell, but this is a really important chunk, because if we don't know where we've been, we can't decide where we're going, right? So we're going to look at any notes or videos that you have. I really highly recommend videoing your training as well as taking notes. You're going to review daily life and training, so that if there's something in your dog's daily house manners, you're aware of that. Any handler skills that you need to improve over the following week, and then fill out any type of progress trackers that you have. So that's the first step, is we're going to do this review process, okay? Then the second step is we're going to set a goal for the handler. So I like to set a goal for myself. Now this is just going to be one goal, okay? Not 5 or 6. So even if I watch myself, if I watch videos and I think, man, you're doing this wrong and this wrong and this wrong, right? I'm not going to give myself 3 goals. I'm going to choose the one that was the most important. So it might be you really need to click on time, or it might be I really need to keep my treat hand still until after I click. Or maybe it's, I really need to, with Leo, a really common one I notice in my videos is that he can get fidgety really fast. And so it's important for me to wait until he is still and looking at me before I deliver a cue. Because if he's fidgeting around and I say sit, not only is he unlikely to do it because he's not ready for the cue, but I'm also kind of reinforcing that like fidgety behavior that he will do. So that's a really common one for me, but it's important that you choose just one, okay? That you have one goal for yourself, not too many, because otherwise you can get really overwhelmed, and overwhelmed, but also trying to divide yourself too much, and you're not gonna be able to do any one thing well because you're trying to do too many things at once. Okay, sorry, I just wanted to open up the comments so I could see if anybody had. Okay, questions. If you have questions about anything, you can throw them in at any time, remember. All right, so then once I have a specific goal for myself, then I'm going to decide what things we need to keep training this week. So during that review process, I looked through all my videos, right, or my training logs. I determined how my dog was doing. I filled out my progress trackers. And now I'm going to decide, okay, which things that aren't done? Like, which things do we need to keep working on? So maybe we're teaching go to bed and stay there. And we only have go to bed and lay down, but we don't have a stay there. Right? So then that's going to follow me over into the next week. Maybe we're working on sit stays. Maybe we're working on a task. Maybe we're working on something like that, right? But if we didn't finish it this week, we need to move it into next week. And there are lots of things that take more than 1 week to train. So that's totally fine. That happens all the time. But I want to start there because I don't want to add new things to my plate if we still have all these other things that we're trying to work on, right? So once we have, decided which things we need to keep training this week, we also want to look at, are any of those things ready to start proofing? So when we talk about the proofing process, that's of course adding distractions. And if you join us inside the Academy, we walk you through this. We have loads and loads of information and resources in there on proofing. So teaching our dogs, not to just sit at home, but also around all the distractions and in all the environments and in, all of the things. Proofing is a huge part of service dog training. And I see this is where one of the biggest problems come up is people have trouble somewhere in public, but it's because they didn't fully proof the behavior. The proofing process it wasn't fully complete, right? And like I said, in the Academy, we have web classes on this. We have an ebook on this. It's built into the core curriculum. Every week we talk about proofing and adding distractions and taking things on the road. So that's going to be my next step, is decide what things are ready to start proofing and or continue proofing, right? Maybe something we've started proofing, but we're ready for a bigger distraction. This is the next thing that's going to go on my list. So then finally we get to what new things are we going to start this week? Okay, so a lot of people jump to this step and they go, okay, what new things are we going to start? But if you haven't reviewed everything first and you don't know where your dog is, you don't know what things to add. Okay, so now that you've done that full review, you know which things you need to keep working on, then you can decide what things need to be added in. Now, you may decide nothing, that you have too many things to keep working on, so we're not adding anything new. And that's totally fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The thing about adding new stuff is that if you are a novice trainer who has not done this before, this part of the plan is much easier if you have a resource or a plan or something like our Academy to help you decide what comes next. Because a huge part of service dog training is training things in an order that actually makes sense. Because if you train things in the wrong order, you can really make things a lot harder for yourself than they need to be. Like a lot harder for yourself than they need to be. So when I get to this step in planning, this is where I jump straight into the Academy, because this is the training plan that I use for the dogs I work with as well. So if we are on stage, let's say we're on stage 8, then during my review process, I'm going to have worked on all of these things. We'll have seen if any of these need to continue into next week. Maybe we need to, we need to keep working on Leave It. Maybe we're not done with Leave It, so I'm going to bring that into next week. But for level 9, I say, okay, what new things are we going to bring in? This is where I look at level 9. Okay, I'm going to start figure 8s. We're going to start some husbandry stuff. We're going to start some dog distractions, some traffic stuff. We're going to make sure that that's been introduced. So this is where I do actually jump into my Academy, and I use these resources that we provide for our students. I use all of these downloadables. I use the Academy curriculum. I use all of this stuff. And so that's where we're going to be next. So those deciding which new things come in. And then the last thing is 1 to 3 priorities for the week. Now, I think that this part is really important, and it's really important that you have 1 to 3. Because if you have more than 3, that gets really overwhelming. Now, I like these priorities because all sorts of things get in our way of training, right? We might not have the energy, or we might not feel well enough, or we might be short on time, or fill in the blank, that we don't get to do a full training session that day or that week. Instead, I can just look at my 1 to 3 priorities and say, that's what I'm doing. I only have 10 minutes. I'm going to work on one of these 3 priorities. So I like to, in our Academy, we have this sheet which is what we're going through now. So, the goal for myself, things that we're practicing from last week. Down here, these are the priorities. But having this sheet every week means that I can, when I'm trying to decide, it's Monday and I'm not sure what to train, I just pull out my sheet and I have it all listed right here. And if I'm short on time, I jump down to my weekly priorities. 1 to 3, no more than 3 priorities. And I really prefer only 1 or 2, but sometimes I'll put a third one in there, especially if, say, like one of my priorities is getting the dog out into public. Then I may have 2 other priorities that I can do at home. So that if I can't get out into public, so then I'll decide, okay, I only have time today to do either a public trip or these other priorities, and you can kind of go from there. When you're choosing priorities, though, there are a few things to think about. I'm going to look at my notes so I don't forget, but let me fix my camera too. There are a few things to think about. So one is, what do you need in order for your dog to live in your home? If there's something going on house manners wise, that needs to be your priority. So if Leo was chasing my cat, or if he was pulling things off the counter, or if he was, not house trained or something like that, that would be in my priorities, because first I have to be able to live with him. Okay. If I have a puppy, socialization is always going to be a priority, creating new experiences. And you can create new experiences at home. So if I have a puppy and I don't have time or I don't feel well enough to leave my property that day, we're just going to create a new experience at home. And we have all kinds of videos on this Facebook page and in our YouTube channel on puppy socialization. And then we walk through that in the academy as well, introducing new places, introducing different sounds, different textures. We walk through, in our academy, we have novelty challenges, and they're worked into different levels so that we're making sure we're introducing our service dogs consistently to new novel experiences, because that's one of the other really important parts of creating a good service dog. So I have a puppy, socialization is going to go there. Also, if I have a dog who's struggling with motivation or reinforcement procedures of any kind, that's going to be a priority. So if I have a dog who's not food motivated, or taking treats too roughly, or doesn't take treats in new environments or something like that, that's always going to be a priority, because if I don't have a way to reinforce my dog, I can't teach him anything. So again, because the academy is only open until Thursday, November 12th, I'm going to mention it a couple more times, because if you want to join, I don't want you to miss it. But in our academy, we have Coda's ebook, and in there I outline literally step by step how I took Coda, and if you've been following me a while, you've heard the story. He was an adolescent doodle who wanted nothing to do with food of any kind if there was a distraction around. Like, I could have steak, and he would not take it if there was a person around. And that ebook outlines step by step how I took Coda from that to a dog who could work for dog food in public on a flat collar and pass a public access test. And it outlines that entire step-by-step process. But, for Coda, his motivation and his reinforcement procedures were really, really important, because without that, I can't teach him anything. Right? If he's not paying attention, or if I don't have a way to reinforce him, I can't teach him anything. And then healing and focus. And these are in order. Okay, so if I have a dog who is struggling with house manners, that's my first priority. If I don't have that, then do I have motivation or reinforcement issues? If I don't have that, do I have a puppy who needs socialization? If I don't have that, are we struggling with either healing or focus? And if I'm struggling with one of those 2 things, then that's going to be my priority. And these are always going to be over tasks, over CGC training, over public access, because if I don't have good motivation or good reinforcement procedures, if I can't get a dog to heal or focus, we can't do tasks, we can't do public access, we can't do CGC training. So I see people jump to the end a lot. And instead, we really need that foundation piece. So the other place that you can get an overview of where an overview of what the service dog training process should look like is in our free service dog training pyramid, which you can get inside the classroom. That's at the link in the description of this video. The classroom for our free workshop that also ends on November 12th. But you can get the pyramid in there. I think we talked about that on workshop part 3, but that downloadable is in the classroom as well, and that will at least give you an overview of service dog training. It doesn't include everything that's in our academy. Our academy is much more comprehensive, but that's another good resource for you to look at as well. Okay, so that's, again, these are kind of the process, the steps, right? So I'm going to review, I'm going to set one single goal for myself to improve my training skills. I'm going to decide what things we need to keep training this week. So what did we not finish, in quotes, last week? Decide what things are ready to start proofing or to step up our proofing game. Then I'm going to decide what new things to start this week. And then I'm going to choose 1 to 3 priorities for the week. No more than that. And I really do find that having your plan like this weekly is really helpful, especially for anybody who either is like me and isn't good at planning, gets overwhelmed with planning, or there was something else and I can't remember it now. But at least, so ideally then we would take this weekly plan and then on Monday we would create a training session plan for that Monday and then on Tuesday and then on Wednesday, But at least this way you have your week broken down. You know what your priorities are. You know what new things to do, what things to proof. And you can do that at just a glance. So like I have this always in Leo's binder. And then right before we go to do a training session, I look at this and decide, okay, what are we doing in this training session? It's all based on my week. In our academy, we do have resources for breaking down individual training sessions, for breaking down behaviors, and of course it does include all the plans for all the behaviors you need to train. Sorry, this camera's a little bit less good with the light and it's making me very shiny. But does anybody have any questions? Tracy, yes. So Tracy, if I'm not mistaken, you joined the academy the other day. And so you'll have access to Coda's ebook, I can't remember when you get exact access to it. So the academy gives you access to things a little bit at a time so that you don't get too overwhelmed or move too quickly. And I can't remember which week you have access to Coda's ebook, but it's in your first month. It's in your first few weeks you get access to that ebook. And I will double check if you have any questions on that. Okay. We do have a couple videos somewhere on the Facebook page and the YouTube channel for just a handful of tips on increasing food motivation as well. Okay, any other questions? I can't get my water bottle open. All right, any other questions? Okay. So that will be it for today. I hope that you guys found this helpful. Don't forget, if you want to catch up on that free workshop that we just did, the link to that is in the description of this video. And those are going to be taken down on Thursday the 12th as well, so that we can really change our focus to really supporting our new students. The link, so I see your question as well, how can you join? The link to learn more or to join the academy is also in the link. There is a link for that in the description of this video as well. And then, if you're thinking about joining, don't forget the pricing is changing this year. So this is going to be the last time to get in before the price goes up. And once you join the academy, then your price is locked in forever. And we do have the new yearly option. We've never had a yearly option before if anybody wants to train or join for the year, and there's a little bit of a discount. I'm trying to read comments and talk. I'm not very good at reading and talking. Okay, Eric, when you join the academy, is it date limited for access? So it's a little bit of both, if I understand your question correctly. And if I'm not understanding correctly, just let me know. So the way that the access to the material works is let's just say that you join the academy today, right now. Instantly, you would get access to everything in the start here column. Instantly get access to this. And this has a bunch of really important foundation things to understand about the system you'll be taught inside the academy. Then on your first morning, so like if you join today, you get start here right away. Then tomorrow morning, you get access to level 1. And then the way that these levels are released, that's the word I'm looking for, is you get one new level 2 weeks in a row, and then there's 1 week off. So we do 2 weeks on, 1 week off, 2 weeks on, 1 week off. And this way you get that 1 week off to implement, to ask questions, to take some time off if that's necessary, because we should all have time off from training. I've done other videos on that. The reason we drip the content out like this is because otherwise people move way too quickly and they skip things. But the thing about the academy is that every level builds on the level before. So if you get to level 2 and you think, oh, I don't need this, somewhere in level 3, 4, or 5, you're going to find out you really did need that because that skill is being built upon now. Now, we do have other bonuses and things that open up. So, for example, at the end of level 1, you take an assessment. It's not hard. It's like 10 questions. It's not designed to be like a doctorate level dog training question, okay? They're just to make sure you kind of understand the material. And as you pass those assessments, there's also no limit on how many times you can take them, so you can take them as many times as necessary. As you pass assessments, things in the video library or in the resource or task training vault open up. So as you pass those, you get access to things like building confidence and socialization at home, arousal control for any dogs who are, get really excited really quickly or can't think when they're excited. Puppy raising and training you get access to right away on your first day. There's other web classes in here, CGC training, as you pass assessments opens up. Same thing with the task training, and I think the resource vault you have access to pretty instantly. But this has different PDFs and ebooks in them on things like, public access readiness, recommended reading. These are different PDFs for download. We also have ebooks in here on things like proofing, Coda's ebook, which I talked about earlier, stuff like that. Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking for where I lost my place. Okay, so Eric, if I didn't answer your question, just let me know. Because you guys have to remember, and I remind my students of this as well, because we do weekly Q&As inside the Academy as well. So we do weekly live Q&As with me that you can ask questions about anything training related. And, sometimes I answer a question that was not in all what the person meant. And so then you just have to tell me. Like, if I ever answer your question and it didn't help, you guys just have to tell me. Okay, so then Sarah says, is this academy good for a team that has the basics down but needs more help with task training? Okay, so I did a live Q&A yesterday, and you can find the replay on this page, and I'll put that in the comments when I'm done here as well, where I answered a lot of these questions a little bit more in depth. So that's there for you. In short, though, this is going to be up to you, of course, but here's a few things to think about. First of all, I find that anybody who needs help with tasks, like if you're struggling with tasks, or if you're struggling with public access, or if there's a more advanced, like something we'd label as advanced thing you're struggling with, usually there's a foundation piece that's missing. And so as we fill in the foundation, you will also find that those advanced training things become much easier to do. So the foundation, generally we still find people that even when they join with more advanced dogs, they get a lot out of the foundation, okay? Now, secondly, the task training library is going to be growing now. So we have deep pressure therapy coming out at the end of the month, and then we're going to be I'm going to be trying to add mini courses with step-by-step training plans on a monthly basis for task training after that. However, you do instantly have access to the Facebook group. So you can ask questions or post videos on anything you're training with your dog. So even if you're at a more advanced, like let's say you're working on a task that we don't have a resource for inside the Academy yet, you can still post videos or questions, and we can still help you create a plan. We can still help you troubleshoot it. We can still help you inside the Facebook group work on that. So the Academy is very, very much what you get out of it is what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it, because it's self-paced, because it is a distance learning program. If you use the Facebook group and you ask questions, we can help you even with the more advanced stuff right away. But if you don't ask questions, we won't be able to help. Okay, and then again, so if anybody has follow-up questions, I will make sure that the link to join is in the description of this video. I will put it in the comments once I'm done here. Well, I will put it in the comments when I'm done here as well, so that it's really easy to find. Can I buy the monthly, and if it's a good fit, then buy the yearly? So right now, we are going to offer upgrades to yearly periodically to current students. And this just has to do with the way that the software works. It's a little bit wonky on our end. The software doesn't make it as easy to make that upgrade as you would think. So we are going to periodically offer current members the ability to upgrade to yearly. So if you joined for the monthly rate, and then in a few months we will probably say, okay, does anybody feel like upgrading to the yearly? And then so the answer is yes, but periodically it won't be open to just upgrade whenever. And that is just because of the way that the software works. So Joe says, what is the price and the price change? So right now you can join for either $37 a month or $370 per year. And these are ongoing subscriptions, so you'll automatically get charged the following month or the following year. You can cancel the monthly one at any time. Well, you can cancel a yearly one at any time too, so it doesn't recharge. But you can cancel at any time, and then, what was I going to, oh, and then this is the last time that we will be offering this price in the spring. Sorry, I lost my train of thought again. Trying to read and talk, just talk. In the spring is the next time that we will be opening the doors to the Academy, and at that point, the price will be going up. Okay, so then yes, we will get the link in the comments as well. Ellen says, I have a dog that may already be around stage 4. If I join, can I skip to stage 4? Otherwise, how many weeks does it take for it to become available? Okay, so I don't know exactly how quickly stage 4 opens. I would have to go in and look. And you guys can certainly email as well, servicedogs@mydogandmellc.com. If you have any questions that, if you need more details or you have any questions, email is always open to you as well. So I don't know exactly, but if you email us, we could find out that exact number for you. And the whole program takes a little bit less than a year to work through. I do know that off the top of my head. The system does not allow it. There's both a tech issue and with letting you skip to stage 4. But also, again, the material builds on itself. So what we find is that, you know, if you jump to stage 4, you're still going to have to go back and work through some things so that you can utilize stage 4 as fully as possible. But like I said, you know, you do have access to the Facebook group. So if you have an advanced dog that you're already, like, you're trying to pass a public access test and you're struggling with something, in the Facebook group, we can still help you. We can still guide you inside the Facebook group. Okay, so Eric says, so once we join the Academy, it doesn't lock us out after a month or 2. No, so once, as material opens up to you, it does, you maintain access to that as long as you are a paying member. So like if you are in stage 3, you still have access to stage 1 and 2 as long as you remain a member. So it does not lock you out after X amount of time or anything like that. Okay, and then I got Joe's question. So Sarah, I'm struggling to find out what tasks that can help mitigate with PTSD and then to somehow figure out how to train those. So yes, so first of all, we do have a couple tasks in there already that I personally use when I train dogs for PTSD. My go-to tasks, deep pressure therapy, a lot of people use for PTSD type tasks, and we have lots of members who either are training a dog for something like that or have. So one of the advantages, one of the things that I love, it's probably my favorite thing about the Academy is the community that we have built. So we have just under 200 members as of this morning who are all using the same material, are all on the same page, but everybody's a little bit different. So we have people training mobility dogs, and we have people training dogs for their kids, and we have people training dogs for PTSD or other anxiety type disorders or disabilities. And so even if perhaps you need help with a task that I maybe have never personally trained, we have somebody in the Academy, either one of my students or one of our coaches, who has trained that. And all of our coaches have actually trained slightly different types of dogs, which is really helpful. And our Academy, the members are so supportive and so helpful and so kind, and so many of them have become very good trainers and very good teachers. And so in our Academy, you can ask something like, you know, I'm trying to figure out what tasks might help me mitigate PTSD, and you are going to get lots of different types of answers. You're going to get people say, you know, this type of alert worked really well for me, but that type made me feel worse, or this, you know, so we have a really strong community in there that's very kind and supportive, which can be hard to find online sometimes. Okay, any other questions? Did I miss anything? I think I got everybody, but if I didn't, just let me know. Okay, so I'm not seeing any other questions, but if you do have questions, you can, or if you're watching the replay, you can put the questions into the comments and we'll be happy to answer them there. You can also ask in our free Facebook group, Train Your Service Dog with Confidence. You can also email us, servicedogs@mydogandmellc.com, if you need, you know, especially if you have questions you're not comfortable asking publicly. We certainly have that option open to you as well. So let us know if you guys have any question. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to share it anywhere else that you think owner trainers might find it helpful. And I will be back. I've got a couple other lives we're going to do this week that I'm very excited about, and we will have our adolescent webinar coming out later next week as well. Probably Tuesday, but don't quote me on that. So stay tuned, because our adolescence web class will be coming out again. It's all about surviving adolescence as unscathed as possible, right? Because that can be a challenging period for all of us with our dogs. Excellent. All right, so I will see you guys later, and let us know if you have any questions at all. Have a good day.